All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. We're going to get started here now. So my name is Corey, and I'm here from Cordial, and I also have here Maddie from Custora.
Hi, everyone.
And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. So I'm just going to go through a couple slides really quick to introduce us. Speaking today, we have Allison Kelly, the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Cordial, as well as Sam Haltman, the Customer Success Lead at Custora. They are two wonderful people that you are blessed to have speak to you today. So a couple of quick housekeeping items. We're going to go over some great holiday tactics to keep your sanity and your margin. You can also input your questions in the chat tab, and then we'll get to that in the Q&A section at the end. And then, as always, we'll share the deck and the recording afterwards for your convenience and use to watch anytime that you want. If you want to watch it over again as well, because it's so great, you're welcome to. Just as a quick agenda, we're going to do a quick intro to Custora, and then we're going to share a little bit on customer analytics and how to leverage for the holidays. We'll do a quick intro to Cordial, and then we'll go over some tactics for personalizing multi-channel experiences for the holidays, some key takeaways, and then we'll be done. We'll wrap it up. So Sam, I'll let you introduce yourself and the Custora team, and then Allison will introduce herself and the Cordial team. But Sam, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thanks, Corey. So my name is Sam, and I am a customer success lead at Custora. And Custora is a customer analytics platform, and our bread and butter has really been in the retail space. So we help customers leverage predictive insights to power activation, cultivation, and retention initiatives. And as you can see here, these are just some of the many wonderful brands that we are currently working with today.
Wonderful. Well, hey everyone, my name is Allison Kelly. I am Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Cordial. For those of you that haven't heard of Cordial before and are curious on who we are a next generation multi-channel messaging platform. We've been around in the industry now for 3.5 years and have right at 200 clients that we work with predominantly in the retail space. Just a couple of months ago, we were actually named a 2018 Gartner Cool Vendor for Multi-Channel Marketing. And just 3 weeks ago, in fact, we won San Diego's Best Places to Work. So yes, we are headquartered in sunny San Diego and have an awesome client roster that spans from innovative, unique retailers like Revolve Clothing to standing customers in their vertical like 1-800-CONTACTS and La Quinta Inns and Suites, and then to other cool customers in the Shopify ecosystem like Kula Sun Care. Some of our investors are listed down there below as well. High Alpha, Upfront Ventures, and PeakSpan. If you have an interest in checking those out further, please do so. And we're happy to be here with you today and with the Custora team.
Great, thanks, Allison. So now we're going to jump into some holiday opportunities and challenges. So for the upcoming holiday season, spend is predicted to increase by 5%, which is great. And contributing to this increase, this will come from both existing customers as well as new customers, as e-com businesses do see an uptick in the acquisition of new customers during the holiday season. And while customer acquisition is great, the CLV of these customers is sadly expected to be lower. And a lot of this is due to the fact that with an influx of gifters, there is a decrease in average order value as well as the expected number of orders that we do see these customers placing. So some of the holiday challenges that we wanted to hone in on today are discount doom. And so that's the first one that we're going to focus on. And so in 2016, we did see that 44% of all orders were sold on promotion and 67% of orders were sold using markdown. And so during the holiday season, I think we're all aware that discounting becomes even more prevalent as most retailers feel the need to increase their discounting strategy in order to stay competitive and continue to drive customer purchase. One and done shoppers are another challenge that retailers are definitely facing every day, but definitely more predominant during the holiday time. And we see that 73% of shoppers during the holiday time will only make one purchase. And as we saw before, while customer acquisition is up during this time, it's important to ensure that a plan is in place to cultivate those first-time shopper relationships and entice them to come back and make that second, third, or fourth purchase. And Custora is actually so passionate about the one-time buyer epidemic that we've even written a book about it to help retailers trying to tackle this problem. So a solution that we do consider important to put in place is some sort of one-time buyer program to assimilate your first-time holiday shoppers to the brand and try to entice them to come back and maintain interest once the holiday season is over.
Awesome. Sam, I have to tell you, I'm one of those one and done shoppers that you guys probably hate. I have a tendency to do that, especially around the holiday time myself as a consumer.
Absolutely.
We're going to cover also on spray and pray here at Cordial. Now, spray and pray, AKA the email blast, is one of those things that in the holidays, sometimes it's just hard to avoid. Most brands, specifically retail brands, and maybe even your brand, take advantage of the spray and pray really during the holidays because you have to amp up your sending, or you feel like you do, in order to maximize the return on investment within your messaging channels. Sam, I had a question for you. What's your inbox look like during the holidays?
You know, sometimes I really try and just avoid it altogether during the holiday. It's too much.
I can totally understand. Mine is nuts. I feel like I literally am getting slapped in the face with email during the holiday time. And nobody likes to feel like that. But we understand why brands do this. We understand why brands send so much mail during the holidays. You want to tap into as many people as possible, probably some of those one and done shoppers from last year that Sam mentioned, or consumers just like me. And you're tapping into customers who many times maybe haven't even made a purchase in a year or more, and probably even sending to some people who haven't engaged with your emails for possibly even longer than a year, which is crazy. Holidays are such a unique time just to get ultra personalized. And if you're leveraging the data sets you have around you correctly, that's what this webinar really is all about. We understand that in order to keep from doing the spray and pray, the stats that you see up on the screen, you got to get things right within your data first, and then figure out how do you execute on that to avoid spray and pray.
Absolutely. So I think now we definitely want to get into some ways that we can leverage customer analytics during the holidays to tackle these 3 challenges that we've just uncovered. So now let's discuss some of these opportunities. So for this, we want to focus on right product, perfect price point, and right channel. So with all the noise during the holiday time, like I just said, I try and avoid my inbox during the holiday time, so I'm probably not the ideal customer either. Putting a strategic communication plan in place is more important than ever. We want to ensure that we are providing the right content to our customers and disseminating that content effectively. And so let's hone into some of these segmentation strategies. So first, we want to talk about the optimal product. So with all the products available out there, we know everyone has very different tastes and styles, and the communication strategy definitely needs to reflect this. So instead of creating a one-size-fits-all approach, which is obviously what we all see with a lot of retailers, and promoting the same products to all customers, marketing efforts can be way more powerful if we take into account these specific products that customers have an affinity for. And having this information available is a true advantage to brands when it comes to personalization and fostering a customer-centric approach. So just as an example, let's take a national shoe retailer. And while there may be an internal directive to push snow boots during the holiday season at this national shoe retailer, some of the marketers might be asking themselves, is this really the best product to leverage while communicating to some of their customers that live in Florida, for example? And so rather than wasting an opportunity for conversion by sending everyone an email for snow boots, being able to determine a targeted audience that warrants this message based on product affinity and providing others with an email that has more mass appeal will not only ensure that you're maintaining your full circulation, but that you're also increasing personalization, which will in turn result in stronger conversion. And so here's another example of how predicted product affinities may work in the wild. So one of our customers is very well known for their denim. They of course sell other products, but if we were to play the word association game, denim is definitely what they'd be known for. So in this scenario, the marketing team was tasked with pushing small leather goods during the holiday, since the merch team believed this was an optimal gifting opportunity. So as you can imagine, this was definitely a challenge for the marketing team, as small leather goods did not have the mass appeal to their core apparel buyer. So luckily, the team had an opportunity in place to leverage predicted product affinities, and they were able to have their cake and eat it too. So through a segmented approach, an email was sent to customers with a product affinity for small leather goods, while the rest of the population received an apparel email that better aligned with their preferences. And so based on the results, you can see that the outcome was positive and everyone was happy. So now moving into finding the optimal price point. So similar to product preference, customers also have personal preferences when it comes to price. And during the holiday time, this is definitely more apparent than ever and should absolutely be taken into account when it comes to strategizing. While we want to ensure that we're highlighting lower price point items or discounted items to customers that normally shop that way, and of course, especially during the holiday time where everyone's expecting these discounts, we also want to ensure that we're not down training any of our customers who might always shop at a higher price point or shop full price. The last thing that we want to do is change our full price shoppers' behaviors as a result of increased discounting during the holiday season. So here's an example of an email track, what an email track might look like without taking into account an individual customer approach. So as you can see, regardless of the persona, if you're Luxury Lauren or Gifting Gertrude, the communication remains the same and the right content is not necessarily being shared with the right people. So flash forward to an ideal world where we refocus our strategy to be more customer-centric and hone in on the individual behaviors of each persona. From this, you'll definitely see a much stronger outcome. Again, we're not decreasing circulation because obviously that's detrimental, especially during the holiday time. But with the right message, we're ideally increasing conversion and therefore creating a more powerful bottom line. So here's just a quick case study from what we've seen with one of our clients. They were tasked with sending out a holiday gift guide, which focused on lower price point gifting items. And as you can imagine, the content of the mailer posed a challenge as the price points of the products being promoted were much lower than the relative prices of the other products that this retailer offers. So thinking about right product and perfect price point, Custora worked with our client to determine the optimal audience to receive this mailer based on which products were represented and the price range of those products. So by leveraging this approach, we saw a 12% increase in conversion, and we also ensured that we were protecting that group of customers who we didn't want to downtrain to purchase less expensive items or create less revenue for the brand. So now I'm going to pass it over to Allison to talk about some ideas and execution.
Awesome. Sam, as you're doing that, I have a question for you too. Since you guys got to hook up with Tiffany's, do you think you can hook another sister up for some holiday gifts here? Because I love Tiffany's.
You know, I'm still trying to weasel my way in. So once I get the in, I'll definitely loop you in as well.
Perfect. I appreciate that. So how do you go from these ideas, right? All of these different ideas that I'm sure probably actually keep you up at night as a marketer as you're heading into the holiday season to actually executing on those strategies and ideas. You've got your segments, but now here comes execution. And how do you drive the work you've done on Luxury Lauren, Eye Patch Elvis, Gifting Gertrude, to email, to SMS, to push quickly so that you can connect with these customers without exhausting yourself? You start with one thing and one thing first. You've got rich segmentation data. It all starts with the data that we have on customers, like the past purchase history, affinities, demographic data, all those fantastic pieces of data that Custora just got done speaking about. But now you have to actually turn this into actionable insights and combine that with real-time behavioral data, like every open, every click that's happened within an email, every browse event, wish listed items or cart items, categories that consumers have viewed while they're on your site, app engagement data, device and location data, and actually have all of this in true real time. And this allows you to be able to create the ultimate customer experience. This type of tailored customer experience is really the North Star, if you will, of what every retailer is working to get to. And candidly, it's just what every single consumer expects as well. So we're going to share with you some real simple abbreviated versions of how to think about staying within your sanity mode during the holiday season as it relates to messaging. So the first topic that we're going to cover off on is relevant. How do you use data from the segments that you've created for personalization far beyond just the first name so that you can remain relevant and remain top of mind with your consumers? Second is going to be responsive. How do you create new triggered messages and new automated campaigns that take advantage of purchase intent data and respond to your customers within their own buying journey and on their terms? The third is going to be refined. How do you find the best performing messages using sophisticated testing methods, even with very limited time and resources to refine your holiday campaigns? We all know those things are short of time, resources, and candidly, sanity sometimes as you're working those late hours during the holiday season. Let's start first with the first R, relevancy. Great. So to stay relevant, you have to understand that segmentation does not always equate to personalization as it relates specifically to execution. You still have to find a way to deliver a personalized message to each and every individual segment that you've built. Now, segmentation is amazing because you can build such granular audiences. You can learn so much about your consumer base really as a whole, but then you have to be able to lean into it. And it feels like progress when you're building these segments. But again, when you're having to go through to execution, you have to create a hyper-personalized message to each and every individual segment. Typically, the workload that's required to do this as a marketer really defaults back to that spray and pray that we want to keep you guys from getting into during the holiday season. So option number two, you can create a hyper-specific message to each segment, especially in the holiday time, and this is crucial to do that so that you don't overexhaust your consumer base. But how do you get there? So with these 5 different segments as an example, that means that typically you have to create at least 5 different messages, specifically in the email world. If you A/B test these, that ends up being a 10x increase in the amount of production work that you have to do. And that's a recipe for sure for working late hours and having a mental breakdown as a marketer during the holiday season. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to have that look on Steve Carroll's face right now that really causes you to have those nightmares, honestly, that oftentimes occur in the holiday season too in the retail industry as a marketer. Now, you have the ability to be able to send one message that adapts and is personalized to each person within the segment. It's the best way to avoid losing your mind, but it's also, too, the best way to keep your margins during the holiday season as well with your audience base. Let's go into how do you get there. First and foremost, you get all your data in the right place. You use platforms that have bidirectional integrations with one another so that you can understand what's going on across platforms that leads you to be able to understand what's going on across your consumer base. Things like real-time behavioral data paired together with affinity models are one of the most optimal places to start with technologies that leverage a bidirectional integration. Second is going to be define what personalization means to your company first and foremost. What does it mean to your business? I can't tell with you guys how many times we have the opportunity to talk to retail brands and they say they want to personalize, but we ask them more granular questions around what does that mean for your business? There are sometimes blank stares. So if you haven't defined out what personalization means for your business first, start there. Define goals and KPIs around those initiatives for personalization in your business, and then get deeper working in personalization strategies from that point on. The third is going to be your ability to pull in data to your message templates at real time, in the time of send. This is such a key component that helps you from getting into spray and pray. And with adaptive templates, you can dynamically personalize across a much larger audience, knowing every single message is going to be unique to that individual consumer within even a bulk send. Like, let's say as an example, you have a 500,000 audience-based send that's going out based around one of your segments. With adaptive templating and new technologies that exist today, you certainly can have every single template look unique without having to create multiple templates for each and every single campaign and consumer. Now, how do you get beyond just the first name personalization. So getting beyond this is an example we're going to cover here with one of our clients, GovX. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with GovX, it's an e-commerce membership site for first responders and for military members. So you actually literally have to have a set of credentials to shop on their site. So we actually worked with them over the course of our history, from taking 50 templates that they had built up in a legacy marketing cloud and moving those 50 templates into 14 adaptive templates. And this is how they run their entire email program today. In the top example, you'll see that they're able to personalize based on which city the person is in, and then generate a unique coupon code for each person. Similarly, in the bottom example, they're able to match location with their affinity for a certain team. A fun example for this, if you can imagine two teams in the same city, like you guys have in New York City as an example with the Mets and the Yankees, you don't want to assume which team a New Yorker may like. It may even be insulting to get the team wrong for some of you diehard baseball fans. And being able to match affinity with location makes that personalization so easy. These are just some visual examples here, but the principle is that leading brands are dynamically inserting affinities and images. They're using product recommendations and making upsells to increase that average order value. Using price sensitivity and discount sensitivity data, you can also dynamically insert the optimal discount offer and generate the discount code automatically too. That's what we're referencing when we're talking about keeping your margins during the holiday time. You don't always know if a luxury Lauren or a gifting Gertrude exists until you do your homework on the data and understand, are they going to respond better due to their intent, due to their affinities, to a higher promo code with a steeper discount, like a 15% versus a 10%, or would free shipping actually push that over the line in the holiday season? If you have physical store locations that you're trying to drive traffic to, being able to geo-target with that store location as well, with their inventory combined, use that to triggered messages, which offers the moment someone comes within a specific proximity to that location. That's such a huge advantage to be able to do and to have. We also always advocate for using product recommendations for first-time shoppers based on their browse and click history. You can also pair together complementary products for shoppers who have already added items to their cart or items that they've already purchased. And then you can use product affinities based on purchase history for repeat customers. So let's take a look at some more examples here from GovX as well. You can see on the left, certain blocks of the message are dynamically updated at the time of send based on all the rich segmentation and real-time behavioral data that they've gathered together. The hero image is tied directly to the branch of government each user is in, and then they're shown products according to affinities and behavioral data like browse and clicks. This then allows them to create completely tailored customer experiences at scale, even during the rush and chaos of the holiday season. And they found this level of personalization has dramatically produced a 20% lift in revenue generated for their email campaign. Now, great, we've got relevancy. We understand how to go through and how to do that, and we've seen some awesome examples. But how do you be responsive? How do you respond the moment that your customers are ready to buy? And how do you get that fast with understanding it as well? So, the busiest time of the year, don't you think it's important to be able to respond in the moment somebody's ready to buy? That's that fast lean-in tendency that we've been referencing. You don't have to rely on batch and blast promotions to do the heavy lifting for you during this time. The fact is, your customers are already looking to buy. You just need to get the right message in front of them at the right time. So again, pairing the deep customer analytics from a platform like Custora with real-time behavioral data from a platform like Cordial allows you to be able to respond to customers with personalized messaging that then converts and allows you to not have nightmares at night. So one of the best ways to be responsive, though, is through your triggered messages like welcome series, your abandoned cart, your browse abandoned, and even geo-targeting messages. Let's dive into the welcome message. So for a welcome message during the holiday time, one of the things that we advise our clients to do is just consider shortening the time between messages. You may normally leave ample time between messages, but you may want to shorten the messages for holidays since you're working with a very short shopping window. So One of the things with the welcome message as well that is really, really important is you can add more messages or accelerate the cadence for those messages based upon advanced triggers, like a wait until logic when someone opens or clicks the message but doesn't purchase. You can also include a tops and gifts dedicated message or section. The holiday season is known for information overload, and so you can alleviate some of the shopping burdens by recommending gifts or gift guides or top sellers to make it even easier for your customers to see what's available from your brand during the holidays. And then also educate about your holiday sales, specific promotions you want them to be aware of, and key dates like sell dates or shipping deadlines. This builds so much trust and credibility, and also too can help drive urgency. So, how do you do the abandoned cart message? That's a critical component and question that a lot of retailers focus on during the holiday times. You may already be doing abandoned cart messages as part of your email cadence, and I'm sure many of you retailers on the line are doing this already. But during the holiday season, converting on those abandoned carts is just critical to driving sales. If you know someone's a gift buyer, as an example, consider adjusting the timing for that. You may want to delay the abandoned cart message a bit longer than you normally would, as gift buyers are likely juggling so many decisions and could be overwhelmed with emails just at any given moment. Attention spans are so different during the holiday seasons, with so many different people that most consumers, just like me and you, are actually buying for, the devices we're shopping on, all the different types of websites that we're pivoting and comparing between our purchasing cycles. It's critical to actually think about changing the timing specifically of your abandoned carts. Here's another tactic to add more messaging to the series too. You can add a second or third or even a fourth message to abandoned cart series, depending on what you're working with now. Timing's key, and an additional message really could make the difference for a purchase decision as well. Sometimes shoppers are in just such a frenzy, and they need a nudge or reminder. Also, to consider just changing the discount model. You could switch your offer up to a dollar amount or a percentage amount, even a minimum spend or a buy one, get one to complete the purchase. That's understanding affinities too throughout each individual's preference on the subscriber level. That certainly will help you with thinking of how do you change the discount model per the individual's consumer's intent and affinities as well. So a browse abandoned message. Browse abandoned messages can sometimes be super tricky, but they're very highly effective. Someone's taken the time to visit your site, which means there's interest, but you still don't know if they're ready to purchase. The job really of a browse abandonment message is to accelerate the buying process and move shoppers from interest to intent and a little further throughout the conversion funnel as well. But timing has to be right. So to be safe, consider testing waiting several hours after they've ended their session on your website. Generally, you want to avoid sending right away, as it really can be too aggressive and result in a spam complaint or some type of negative brand experience. I'll say this too, during the holiday times, because there are so many more messages that are being sent, ISPs are so much more rigorous on canned spam, complaints, how much are you sending. So when you're doing a browse abandonment or any triggered especially, you want to understand what type of cadence you need to keep and the time frame of which you need to keep that cadence so that you're not too aggressive and you don't get complaints. You also too, within browse abandonment messages, want to create the right amount of incentive. You can integrate price and discount sensitivity to make a personalized offer to convert a shopper. Really, use these as an opportunity to educate a shopper too with a gift guide related to the category that's been viewed. Now, I'm curious on the line, and I wish I could poll you guys too, how many of you are actually using geo-targeting today as part of your campaign strategy? It can be really tricky, and it's because it's all dependent on how fast you can get that data in your hands and be able to use that to trigger a message. Seconds, even milliseconds, can make such a difference with geo-targeting triggers. With a strong integration with your e-com platform, you can make a relevant offer for in-store inventory using affinities and real-time behavioral data. That's one of the more interesting use cases, actually, for triggered messages, and it's one that I don't think a lot of in-store retailers take the best advantage of. But think about leveraging that as probably a next era personalization campaign, and the holiday times are just such an optimal time to use that because you'll have so many one-and-done shoppers that come back in the store. Now, Let me share a little story with you about a brand, Revolve Clothing. Revolve is one of our clients here at Cordial, and it's really one of those innovative leading fashion retailers in the space. This is a brand that so many other fashion retailers in the space actually look to, and they follow. They aspire to be like them. Since coming on board with us, which has been right at 15 months, they've implemented at Revolve Clothing 15 personalized triggered campaigns, and that now accounts for over 20% of their overall revenue. These campaigns have doubled the engagement rate over traditional promotional campaigns and just prove out that responsiveness matters. Being able to tailor based upon intent, being able to understand affinity, those types of things are what move the needle. And those are the types of things that especially make impactful results during the holiday time. And by understanding how to respond correctly, this leads to our third talking point. How do you refine? How do you refine your messages during the holiday times? Simply because your customers deserve the best, your best messages across the board during this time, and thinking strategically about the customer first allows you to not overexhaust your customers during the holiday time and to understand the difference between the eye patch Elvis and the gifting Gertrude. Don't leave money on the table during this time. It's not something that is enjoyable, and honestly, it can really have a big impact even on your Q1 results if you walk away from some of the best strategies you could be implementing during the holiday times. Optimize every message, and this tailors a customer experience and maximizes the revenue that's generated. So a quick question for you guys. As we talk about optimization, we talk about refinement. How many of you actually A/B test during the holidays? Take a second to answer that, if you will. Just curious on the results. So you can select one of the following. Yes, we test many messages. We only select to test a few as your second option. Or, are you crazy? I don't test during the holiday times. It's enough and too arduous to test even throughout the year. We'll take a moment and let you guys answer that. All right. So a couple more seconds, and here we go. So it turns out a good bit of you are actually testing just a select few during the holiday times. But some of you did say, are you crazy? I don't blame you. That is a lot. It's a lot of work in traditional settings to go in and test during the holiday times. The real question is, though, in the holidays, can you afford to send an underperforming message? The answer is no, but it's not so simple to test and to optimize, and a lot of times it doesn't yield the results that most companies and retailers are looking for. So, like we mentioned earlier, if you're sending a different message to each segment, that's too much work in and of itself, let alone adding in A/B testing tops all of that. There are many challenges to testing during the holidays, but here are a few. I think you may already know them, though, based upon the results. So, first and foremost, testing during the holidays is arduous because most of the attention goes to batch and blast messages. You've got all these different types of campaigns that you're trying to roll out, all these initiatives that you probably have worked on for the past 6 months even, with new types of bulk campaigns you can send. And that's where the focus has been. Now, secondly, we know during the holidays, there's no room for mistakes. You have a short window of time to work with, and every single second and minute within your business counts on how you connect with your customers. And then fourth, and finally, test results can be inconclusive. I was actually at a conference yesterday, and we talked about A/B testing, and we talked about multivariate testing. And there was a brand that I had the opportunity to speak with that actually shared with me that it took them 3 years, in fact, within their email campaigns to get to statistical significance with A/B testing subject lines alone. That's crazy. We don't have that type of time during the holiday season, and you certainly don't either. But the fact is, the holidays, very high volume during the holidays for sending. There are more messages sent, more shopping's done, and more purchases are made than any other time of the year. So these small improvements really can compound into big results when you have time and volume to be able to work with as it relates to refinement and optimization. So testing is possible during the holidays, and for The majority of you that answered yes, we're testing a couple of different things, know that you actually, with the advancements in technology, can test more simply than just an A/B with the holidays, and you can make measurable improvements to be able to make a considerable difference to your bottom line. One of the easiest tactics you can implement in testing and optimizing is really your subject lines. Instead of you making a guess at which subject you think is best and possibly leaving money on the table, you can let your customers choose which subject line is best. Ideally, it's best to automate and automatically choose a winner after a given audience size, time, or statistical significance has occurred to eliminate the chance that you've let it run too long or make a fat finger mistake. This also gives you the creative freedom to experiment with incorporating first names and location, interests, emojis, text case, etc. I happen to be a raving fan of starting to test emojis and subject lines. It's one of those things that has been a common topic too in the retail category on the effectiveness. So use the holiday times, because you're already sending out a ton of messages anyway, to test on things like that. It's such an easy win, and it can tell you a lot more about what other types of things make customers react to your brand, even throughout the majority of the year outside of the holiday times. So let's take this and let's actually get a little bit more advanced outside of subject lines. Testing body content is so much more complex, but it can make a big difference. One key highlight, consider optimizing for click-throughs or even for conversions if your technology allows, and not just optimizing for opens. Opens only tell you so much, but click-throughs tell you a higher level of intent, and conversions most certainly, if you're testing and optimizing towards that, can be quite helpful in understanding how do you convert, again, somebody that typically is a one-and-done consumer. You may find that one message can be optimized for a high open rate, though, but it doesn't perform well in driving clicks, whereas another message may be optimized for conversions, but isn't necessarily the clear winner in opens. If you're able to optimize for a particular KPI that aligns with your goal for the message, this is just so amazing. And you can optimize for opens when you need awareness, optimize for conversion when there's high purchase intent. The screenshot you guys are seeing on the screen is from Cordial's interface, where you can optimize messages according to the KPI of your choice. And you can see how messages are automatically optimized to drive the desired action that you want. Call to actions are also too critical in driving purchase intent. So test different buttons, button text, or even a button color. It can make such a big difference. This will help inform future messages and campaigns as you chug along during the holiday season or into the next fiscal year. For conversion-focused messages like an abandoned cart or a browse abandon or a post-purchase upsell, it's critical that you optimize these messages first so that they can be the best that they can be. When we talk to a lot of other retail brands, they simply say they don't do an optimization or they don't test on a lot of their trigger campaigns specifically because it's working good enough anyway. But I can tell you from working with some of the most innovative brands in the space in the retail industry that good enough is not good enough any longer. It's important to test and optimize these messages for what's working right now in the moment with that individual customer and not focusing on what's happened with them in the past. Shoppers in the holiday season, they have such a different shopping behavior and trend and attention span, and you want your messages to be able to adapt to that changing behavior. So if you use machine learning, Cordial is able to continually test and optimize a message automatically and shift volume to the best performing message while still testing new variations. A lot of companies are hesitant actually to get started in using machine learning because they think that they need like a data scientist team, or they think that they need to have all of their data ducks in a row. And in reality, that could take years. One of the beautiful things about advancing technologies in the space, our platform and then other platforms that are out there in the space too, just like Custora with their predictive capabilities, this allows you to get started now. And in most instances, you simply just need an email address to get started. You lean into the data insights and you take that and you leverage that elsewhere throughout your campaigns. So in summary, you personalize messages to segments to create and foster relevancy. The second is you're going to adjust and implement triggered messages to be responsive in real time. And the third, test and optimize subject lines, body content, triggered messages to refine and maximize revenue. Don't be afraid to get started and to dig in as it relates to optimization and machine learning. So if you'd like to learn more about Custora or Cordial, we'd love to chat with you more. We'd love to understand what's going on, even during your busy season like the holiday times. You can certainly select one of the options below. No obligation needed at all, but we'd love to be able to continue the conversations that we've had today and help you uncover how to make your life easier as it relates to retailing during the holiday times and throughout the remainder of the year.
So thank you so much, guys. Now we're just going to take a few minutes to answer the questions that have been coming in during the webinar. Thank you so much for submitting. And if you still have a question, be sure to submit. Allison, this question is for you guys at Cordial. And if you don't know the answer, we will follow up with you. But it relates to the Revolve use case that you shared. The listener's wondering what the 15 personalized emails that Revolve is sending are.
Yeah, great question there. So ironically enough, it doesn't actually include abandoned cart message. They already had that when they started working with us. We just ported that over. But they're rolling with some really unique triggered messages, things like low inventory alerts, back in stock, price drop alerts, and they're using a combination of understanding what's happening in real time, paired together with historical data to measure intent accordingly, to know which one of those triggered messages they need to deploy. These are the types of tactics that keep them on the cutting edge, and those are the types of new campaigns that we've been rolling out with them. When we first started working with them again, they were already one of those forward-thinking, advancing brands, but they were using legacy technology to try to power this, and candidly, that legacy technology just could not get to the amount of data sets, measure of intent, and then power a message like a low inventory alert as an example in real time, unless they added on another bolt-on solution for triggered messaging.
Awesome, thank you. I am actually a Revolve subscriber, and I've noticed that they're really good at this whenever I've left things in my cart, which is very often because they're kind of pricey, but they're really cute. I've noticed that I always get the abandoned cart emails, and I also get targeted on Instagram.
Yeah, they're a fantastic client that just IPO'd. For those of you listeners on the line that didn't know that, they just IPO'd last week. So it's been a really great success story and journey with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now the next question is for you, Sam. So you talked a lot about email, using insights in the email channel, but what are some ways that some of Custora's customers are using insights in other channels? Could be display, could be direct mail, social.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So obviously email is the cheapest way of communicating with customers, but that's not always the optimal way to communicate with all customers. So what we found that was taking into account a customer's value to the brand, so really honing in on who your most valuable customers are, and then double clicking into that to better understand what the best channel is to reach them. So for many, that still might be email, but for those customers that are definitely more valuable to your brand, they might warrant that additional investment for direct mail or digital channels like Facebook. So it's really continuing to test, continuing to iterate, and really hone in on exactly how you should be communicating with different customers within your file based on, again, not only how much revenue they're driving to your brand, but where they're most likely to convert.
How does Custora determine who the high value customers are?
So we determine the high value customers are utilizing a future high value predictive model. And so we take every customer within someone's customer file and we basically tier them out. So we consider your top 5% of customers your VIP shoppers, and that is based on how much money we predict those customers will generate in the coming years.
Awesome. And this was not a question that came in. This is my question.
Yeah.
And a bit of a plug, I will say. But how do these insights from Custora get into an ESP like Cordial?
Yeah, so we have a direct integration with different ESPs as well as Facebook, Google AdWords, LiveRamp, and we're constantly updating our integrations capabilities. But basically, you can build all these different segments directly within Custora based on a slew of different attributes and push those segments directly into the relative ESPs or Facebook or Google AdWords. The other cool aspect is that we also have the ability to help you build out a test and control environment within a given campaign. So when we're thinking about things like direct mail, we want to ensure that the investment is worth it. And so we always want to be able to measure the incrementality from an initiative like direct mail to see if it's something that we'd like to do again in the future. And so creating a test and control environment within Custora is very, very easy to then track results and make the most informative decisions thereafter.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. And this question, this last question is for you, Allison. So you've shared a lot of tactics today, a ton of strategies that retailers can use during holiday. If they had to choose one, what would it be?
That's a great question. So one of the tactics that we shared was creating relevancy. And I think that the holiday time is the ultimate time to be able to create relevancy, not just because of the influx of sending that occurs and the attention spans that are out there, but it really can tell you a lot about your customer base. And it also, too, will help impact other campaigns throughout the year. So if you had to take a look at it, being able to maybe roll out a new campaign or two during the holiday season for personalization, refinement of that, too, as you're creating the relevancy, like just diving into those two specifically, will help big time in impacting the rest of the campaigns throughout the year. And I'm going to guarantee you'll learn a thing or two about your consumer base that you never would have if you hadn't started, just with diving into how to create better relevancy, how to drive more refinement around what personalization means to your business as well during the holiday time.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sam and Allison and Corey, if you're still there. And thank you so much for listening today, guys. We will be sending out the recording probably within the next hour, as well as a very short survey. We love to get feedback. We're always trying to improve these webinars. We make them for you. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.